Hello, Pastor Aaron here with your devotional thought for today. So last week I was in Irvine, California for a kickoff conference for my master's program that I'm doing in counseling from the Townsend Institute at Concordia University. So this conference was part of our first 2-week intensive course, which was all about our own personal character growth, kind of looking at our blind spots. It was so good. Like, I am learning so much. I kind of feel like I'm growing up and will soon be a real adult. I'm so excited. But anyway, a couple weeks ago I shared with you the metaphor of a tree that Dr. Townsend uses to help us get an idea of how we grow as individuals. It's from the parable of the fig tree that Jesus shares in Luke chapter 13. The fruit on this tree are represented by the 3 P's: personal, people, and performance. See, we want to bear good fruit in our lives in each of these areas. We want to bear these fruits. We want to bear the fruits of the Spirit, of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, self-control. We want to be disciplined in our lives and follow through in our commitments and be dependable on that personal level so that we can serve Christ and others. We also want to be able to form deep, intimate relationships with people. That's our second P, and to relate to others in a Christ-like way. Finally, we want to bear fruit in the performance part of our lives, whether that be at home or at work or at school. You see, God created us not just to sit around, but to work and to use the gifts He has given us for His glory and for the betterment of society. So in order for us to bear fruit, we need a solid trunk. This is where character comes into play. St. Paul mentions character in Romans chapter 5 when he talks about suffering. He said, "We rejoice in our sufferings too, knowing that sufferings produce endurance, and endurance produces character." And yes, working on our own character can be painful. It can be suffering. Suffering happens. Growth can be painful because we often have to let go of bad things, like bad ways of thinking, bad ways of relating, bad ways of living and acting. The 4 character structures I learned about were this: attachment, separation, integration, and adulthood. Today, I'm just going to tackle attachment, the first one, and how important it is for us to develop as disciples of Jesus. Attachment is the ability to connect with others in a close or in an intimate way. In order to form these deep relationships, we need to be able to, let our guard down and be vulnerable and actually ask others to help fulfill our relational needs and being honest about that. Someone with good attachment is always seeking out relational community in friendships, in small groups, at church, in mentors, pastors, coaches, Stephen ministers. Our first need-based relationship is with our parents. So during that first year of life, it is so critical. And see, we are dependent on our caregiver to supply our basic needs. And when those needs are continually met, we develop a sense of belonging and safety as typically our mom or our dad attune to our needs. Over time, we form emotional memories and are soothed and comforted in times of stress, and then continue to reach out to others to help meet our needs. Now, oftentimes, this formation of attachment in childhood can get disrupted for one reason or another. Some indications of attachment issues later on include struggling to identify your own needs, or you have problems sharing needs when identified. Another one could be lack of trust in God or other people. Another one could be an imbalance of trust resulting in the reliance on your own willpower rather than strong connections to others to function and to solve challenges and problems. Difficulty receiving from others, whether that is gifts, compliments, praise, or affection. See, someone with good attachment can handle a broad range of emotions, whether they be pleasant or painful. They can identify emotions and decide when they want to address them. While all the while maintaining their own ability to function in life. They don't ignore their own emotions, and they have the capacity to handle the emotions of others. So some indications of poor emotional regulation include becoming overwhelmed or paralyzed by strong or negative feelings. Another one is experiencing strong emotions as bad or destructive. Or rescuing or enabling others to avoid issues with negative feelings. You all probably have seen that one, right? We don't have any problems. We're all okay, right, guys? We're fine. Everybody's fine. Everything is just fine. Let's just keep on sweeping stuff under the rug. Let's keep on burying our feelings and masking them with harsh, sarcastic remarks. Sound familiar? Another one is emotional fragmentation when emotionally overwhelmed, which kind of reminds me of a children's book that at my house called My Many Colored Days. Anybody heard of this one, right? Some days are happy yellow. Some days are sad blue. And then at the end, it's sometimes all the colors hit me at once and I don't know who or what I am. You know the one I'm talking about, right? Well, another indication of poor emotional regulation includes impulse control issues. So when we don't address our emotions, they can sometimes show up in risky or impulsive behavior rather than being connected through the healthy relationships. Now, you may be listening and thinking, wow, I have some work to do on this character structure. I don't really have any close relationships other than my spouse and my dog. Or perhaps you're thinking, you know what, I have somebody in my life who's like that. Well, the key to a solid trunk that bears fruit is good soil. We need people in our lives that will help pour the nutrients of grace and truth. Jesus came full of grace and truth, and we need to pour into each other grace and truth. We need grace, love, acceptance, forgiveness, and affirmation. We also need people we trust to help us clarify what we are experiencing and also to confront us when we're being dumb or headed down the wrong path. We need grace and truth. But more on the nutrients later. Stay tuned for next week when we will talk about the second character structure of separation. I'm talking about boundaries. It's going to be great. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening, and may God bless your day.